Good morning, students. I, Sarita Goyal, your bio teacher, will explain you the chapter number 8, that is how do organisms reproduce. In my previous lecture, I discussed about asexual reproduction, in which I discussed types of asexual reproduction, that is fission, regeneration, fragmentation, spore formation, and vegetative reproduction. In vegetative reproduction, I told you about the various methods by which we can grow the plants with the help of the parts of plants only, that is vegetative parts of the plant. You can grow in this by this method. You can grow the plants by its stem, root, leaves, etc. So today, last week I have explained you, but now I am showing you the slides of vegetative propagation. First slide is vegetative propagation by stem. That you can see here potato, you can see here birds. These are called eye birds. The number of eye birds present, the number of individual can be grown. You can see the root-like structures. If you leave this potato as such for few days outside uh, the phrase, or you can see some root-like structures starts growing from those buds. You can put this potato into the soil and you will get as much number of individuals as eye buds are present. That means if the potato is having 4 buds, you can have 4 potatoes from that. So that is the development of new plant body from the existing buds along with the maturity. Next slide is by layering. You can pull the stem part of any plant which is flexible like this. Keep this half portion in the mud and small portion outside. Now, when you leave this in the mud, a new root starts from here. You can detach the plant and you can grow this new plant individually. So this is layering. Coming to the vegetative propagation by leaf, you can see this bryophyllum leaf. You can see notches, the here bud-like structures towards the edge of the leaves. When these notches get matured, they will fall down and they will develop into new plant. So this is vegetative propagation by leaf. Now last method of this is by grafting. I told you have to take the two desired quality of plants. Now suppose I have taken one plant of this quality and one plant of this quality. I have taken the bottom part of this one plant, that is called stalk, and cut the upper portion, some portion of the another plant, that is called scion. You fix like this, start tying. Now take a polythene, put some mud, manure, water, etc., and tie with this part. And after tying like this, you can leave for few months, 2-3 months. What you see a new branch arising from there. So you can cut that branch and you can plant a new tree which might have the characteristics of both the plants in first generation itself. So this is all about vegetative propagation. I have not shown you slide in my previous lecture. Today I have shown you the slides. You can go through it, and if you are having any problem, you can ask. Now what today we are going to discuss is about sexual reproduction, right? In this, you are going to study why the sexual reproduction mode of reproduction is necessary, and then sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Before discussing sexual reproduction, we should know what are the types of flowers, what are its parts, and what are its function, and what is pollination, how does it take place, and of different types. Then germination of pollen, how this pollen tube develop inside the flower and how it release the male gametes, right? that is fertilization process we are going to study. And then after the event that occur post that fertilization is known as post fertilization event, and the last topic is germination. So these topics I am going to cover in my this lecture. So first is why sexual reproduction? Because reproduction or reproducing organisms create new individuals that look very much like themselves. So that means reproduction helps in the continuity of life, continuity of species. That is reproduction. Now, in sexual reproduction, organisms look similar because their body design are similar. You might resemble your mother, you might be resembling your father, brother because of similar body design, right? For similar body design, we have to make the blueprint. Just like if you want to the same design, you will do carbon copy or you will get photostat. So similarly, we are here, we should get blueprints. Blueprint means structure, that information for this design should be similar. So what does it involve? It involves making copies of the blueprints of the body design. How you make the blueprints of the body design? By the DNA copy. You can see the structure of DNA here. This DNA contains a segment of gene, a gene, which is gene is the segment of DNA. It contains 10 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, altogether 5 steps, in which one you will have pairing with the adenine thymine AT, and second step is CG, that is cytosine and guanine. Again third step, it may be AT or it may be CG. So this pattern may change, and due to the change in this pattern, there will be error in DNA copying, so you may have variations, right? This variations arises due to the error in DNA copy. Now what is this DNA contain? Now these DNA, these chromosomes are present in the nucleus of the cell, and nucleus contains chromosomes which contains genes, and genes are the segments of DNA molecule. During cell division, they cross over because, as you know, in sexual reproduction, both parents are involved. There is fusion of gametes of both male and female. So there might be variations, and this crossing over takes place during the cell division, right? When this crossing over takes place, there will be variations, and these variations will occur in DNA copy. Now, how does this variation occur? Since DNA is present in the cell nucleus, it is the source of making proteins. And if this information is changed, जो हम इंफॉर्मेशन देते हैं कुछ काम करने के लिए, कुछ बनाने के लिए, अगर मैंने वो बनाते हुए कुछ भी भूल गई या कुछ भी मैंने चेंज कर दिया तो क्या होता है? वो चीज़ ही चेंज हो जाती है. सेम थिंग हियर, this DNA contains the information for making proteins. If the information is changed, then different proteins will be made, same proteins cannot be made. And if different proteins is made, there may be altered body design. So that is how the body changes, the alterations comes in the body, the different pattern comes in the body because of the different proteins that will be getting information from DNA. If DNA copying is changed, the information will be changed and different proteins will be. And if different proteins will be made, then there will be difference in characters. You can see the structure of DNA. It is helical structure, it is spiral. घुमावदार सीढ़ियाँ होती है ना, वैसे ये structure होता है. You can see here the pairing of TA, GC, TA, AT, like this. You can see if this pairing change, there may be variations. Now here you can see the copying of DNA. It is called replication. One strand here, the single strand converted into two strands. That's called copying of DNA. So each DNA has its own cellular structure. After replication, this DNA gets separated from here. right? Now, you can see the DNA copying. How this copying takes place, you can see the two copies, one is this one is this one. This is called replication of DNA, right? So this DNA copy, you can see here also, this will become into two strands, one is this, one is this, followed by division of additional cellular apparatus, right? Creation of DNA body brings variation. Now since this copying, this separation of DNA, that brings variation in the body. Now this will be again separated by constricting the cell membrane, and thus you can see here the cell membrane starts constricting, and thus two daughter cells are formed. These two daughter cells might be different to some extent from their parents, that is due to the DNA copy, right? So these two daughter cells are from these two daughter cells, as I told you earlier also, it is not means that babies, a single baby will form from these two daughter cells. One daughter cell gives a basic body design, and other daughter cells perform the basic characters, right? So this is about sexual reproduction, right? Now coming to the longitudinal section of flower. Now you can see the diagram of flower, right? In my next video, I'll make one video, I'll show you the different parts of the flower by removing from the flower with the help of needle. So what all this flower contains, it has male reproductive part, that is called stamen, which consists of anther and filament. Then female reproductive part, that is pistil or carpel, consisting of stigma, style and ovary. So these three parts together make the female reproductive part. In very first slide, I have shown you the diagrammatic way to represent male and female. This blue color structure, is the male reproductive part. The symbol shows that this is the male reproductive part, and this is female reproductive part, and you can see the fusion of gametes over here also. Now coming to the male and female, these are called female. Pistil is also known as carpel, so you can call it as carpel as well as pistil. These are female reproductive part which contains sigma, style and ovary. Now coming to the male, it is stamen which contains anther and filament. What left? That is of petals. Can you tell me the advantage of petals? Yes, petals are for attraction of insects, right, and human beings, right? And you can see that you will be getting different sweets of petals. रोज के पत्तियों की मिठाई बनती है, गुलकंद, it is made up of rose petals, perfumes, deo, the soaps, they all contain these petals. Now what about sepals? Sepals protect the flower when it is in the bud form, and you will find these sepals attached with some vegetables, fruits also. For example, brinjal, tomato, chilies, right? Green chili. Now, this is all about the structure of longitudinal section of flower. Now, coming one by one, you can see stamen. It is a male reproductive organ. It consists of anther and filament. This anther contains pollen grains, right? And each pollen grain, when it falls into the stigma, give rise to two male gametes. Next one is pistil. It is a female reproductive organ. It contains stigma, style, ovary, right? And this ovary contains ovule in which you find a single egg, right? So this is about carpel or pistil, which is female reproductive part. Now coming to the types of flower, we have two types of flower. One is unisexual and another one is bisexual. Unisexual flower may be, you can take the example of papaya and watermelon. If you see the papaya tree go somewhere, you always to find two papaya plants nearby. One is of male and another one is of female. इट कंटेन्स आइदर स्टेमन और पिस्टिल, या मेल रिप्रोडक्टिव पार्ट होते हैं या फीमेल होते हैं, दोनों में से एक होता है. बट कमिंग टू द bisexual examples, you can take hibiscus, mustard, and they have both male, this is the male part and this is the female part. So both male and female parts in the same flower. That is about bisexual flower. Example, hibiscus and mustard. Next is pollination. What is pollination? Transfer of gametes from anther. Gametes means pollen grains. From anthers to the stigma is called pollination. See here, these are anther. This anther contain yellow part. In this yellow part, you will find small like this spores. दानेदार दानेदार चीज निकलते हैं पीले पीले रंग के, उनको हम बोलते हैं pollen grains. When insect suck the nectar, these pollen grains get stick to the body of the beak of an insect and it transfers to the stigma while sucking the nectar from the stigma also. So this is known as pollination. Pollination means transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma. Now this pollination is of two types. One is self-pollination and another one is cross-pollination. What is self-pollination? Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma to the same flower or different flower of the same plant. What I mean, एक प्लांट में बहुत सारे फूल होते हैं, तो जब इंसेक्ट्स बैठती है तो वो नेक्टर सक करती है. जब नेक्टर सक करते हैं तो वो पोलन ग्रेन्स उसकी बॉडी के साथ उसकी बीक के साथ चिपक जाती हैं. अगर वो सेम फ्लावर पर नेक्टर सक कर रही है तो इनडायरेक्टली इट इज ट्रांसफरिंग द पोलन ग्रेन्स टू द स्टिग्मा. अगर वो दूसरे फ्लावर पे भी बैठती है सेम प्लांट के, देन आल्सो इट ट्रांसफरिंग द पोलन ग्रेन्स टू द स्टिग्मा. बट इन दैट केस both the cases are self pollination. If the insect sits on another flower of another tree, then there may be some changes, right? And that is called cross pollination. And example, you can see here, the insect is sitting on here, it can sucking the nectar, it will what do you mean, pollen grains might stick to the body, to the sucking tube also, right? When it's set on the another flower, it leaves the pollen grain here, so that cross pollination takes place. This is all about cross pollination. How this pollen grains transfer from one flower to another. One way is by insect, it's okay. By butterfly, it's okay. But there are still other means of transporting pollen grains to the different flower. That is by bats. Now these bats also sit on the flowers, they suck the nectar and they might lead the insects to the flower. Then by birds, by water flows, the pollen grains which are very light, they fall on the water and they also flows. Similarly by wind, जब हवा चलती है तो pollen grains इतने हल्के होते हैं वो नीचे गिर जाते हैं, वो उड़ जाते हैं, and wherever it falls it grow into new plants, right? That is about pollination by wind. Then by human body is also mainly responsible for transferring of seeds one place to another. Then by ground animals, you can take the example of गिलहरी, वो एक पेड़ पर चढ़कर वहाँ पर खाती है तो वो सीड्स नीचे गिराती रहती है. That is how it also help in pollination. So these are the different groups of pollination. Today I will conclude my class here only. In my next lecture I will take the process called fertilization in my next lecture. I have made the slides, but I am not sending because in the explanation also I have completed till here only. So next week I am going to start with the fertilization, that is followed by after pollination. Okay, goodbye. Stay home, stay healthy, do your work.